So obviously at the time of doing this, the Russia report came out yesterday, and I'm still planning on doing a live stream at some point on Friday morning to go over everything that has come out since the moves that have been made, and we're probably going to go over from the very start of this whole thing right to the very finish of it, just to go through and give a whole sense of picture just what this means. However, we're just going to quickly go over the Russia report today from, believe it or not, the Business Insider. And I think this covers very simply and very quickly the main key concerns about all this. We know from the report there is an evident meddling going on in our democracy. This is huge. We should care. Regardless of whatever political side you're on, you should care that your politicians are not being corrupted. Because if you let, as the saying goes, sometimes if you let one corruption thing slip, then the next one gets slipped, and the next one, and these corruption blips just keep on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Remember, Putin's aim is not to improve his own country, but to drag all the other countries down. Hey, Russian people, you don't want to improve our democracy. Just look at what's going on in the UK and in America. Look how awful it is there compared to here. Aren't you lucky to live under the rule of these benevolent oligarchs? That's Putin's role, essentially. Anyway, we go to the, as I said, the Business Insider. And the title of the article is, "The Russia Report Reveals How Putin's Allies Use the UK as a Laundromat to Launder Russian Money and Interfere in British Politics." Sorry, there we go. So, a long-awaited Russia report into Russian interference in the UK has revealed how Russia has integrated itself into British social, business and political elites, while taking advantage of UK government policy to launder Russian money and influence. Using evidence submitted by spies and intelligence experts, the report by UK parliamentarians on the Intelligence and Security Select Committee found that British government policy had offered ideal mechanisms to which illicit finance could be recycled through what has been referred to as the London laundromat. It added that the UK welcomed Russian money, and few questions, if any, were asked about the provenance of this considerable wealth. Senior Russia figures have used their money to fund British political parties and businesses, with the UK viewed as a particularly favourable destination for Russian oligarchs and their money. Russian influence across the top levels of British society has now become the new normal. The authors suggest that adding that there are lots of Russians with very close links to Putin who are well integrated into UK businesses and the social scene and accepted because of their wealth. The report added that the level of integration in Londongrad, in particular, means that any measures now being taken by the government are not preventative but rather constitute damage limitation. The report says that there is insufficient evidence to prove that Russia interfered in the 2016 Brexit referendum. However, the report says this because the UK government did not seek to find out, criticising extreme caution among the UK security officials to look into potential interference by Moscow. The ICS member and the House of Parliament, Stuart Hosey, said on Tuesday that there had been no assessment of Russian interference in the EU referendum, and that goes back to nobody wanting to touch this issue with a 10-foot pole. He said that the ISC found it astonishing that the UK government did not seek to protect the referendum by looking into potential Russian interference. So we don't know whether there was actually any interference because no one was looking for it. So you can't just say, oh, there was no interference. You can't. And here's the thing. Lots of Brexiteers are trying to protect the sanctity of the 2016 Brexit referendum. And here's the thing. You cannot guarantee the sanctity of that referendum until there is an inquiry to see what actually happened. Because we should look at this. Regardless of whatever side you fell on the referendum, this is something that we should be looking at. And I guarantee you, if this had gone the other way, Brexiteers would be screaming for an inquiry. And I'd be with them on that, because I think stuff like this should be checked. This is the type of thing that keeps our democracy good and in check, and gets, to eliminating corruption. Oh, there we go. So the report calls for a full retrospective assessment into political Russian interference in the referendum, pointing out that the US carried out an intelligence assessment within 2 months of the 2016 presidential election. However, the UK government rejected this call, saying in response, a retrospective assessment of the EU referendum is not necessary. A spokesperson for Johnson later told reporters, we saw no Russian interference in the EU referendum. How do you know when you haven't looked? The report by the ICS was published on Tuesday after being completed almost 18 months ago. Prime Minister Boris Johnson refused to publish it prior to the UK's general election in December, amid reports of embarrassing information it contained about UK-based Russian oligarchs who funded the Conservatives. No donors are named in the report, but it has been extensively redacted prior to publication. Downing Street has been under growing pressure to form a new ICS so that the report could be released. MPs last month said in a letter to Johnson that the delay in releasing the report was an affront to democracy, and pointed out that never before had it taken a UK government so long to form the committee. Parts of the report published today are redacted, and it does not identify individuals tied to the Kremlin who have links to the Conservative Party. Data published last month showed continued financial support for the Conservative Party from the wife of a former minister to Putin's Russian government. Lyubo Chekin, who is married to an ex-Russian finance minister, Vladimir Chechilkin, donated over £300,000 to Johnson's party in the first quarter of 2020, according to the data, which made her the biggest ever female political donor in the UK. In 2014, she paid over £160,000 for a game of tennis with Boris Johnson, and then the Prime Minister David Cameron, as well as a further £30,000 for a dinner with the UK government's current Education Secretary, Gavin Williamson. In May last year, she dined with the ex-Prime Minister Theresa May and numerous female members of the cabinet at that time, after donating £135,000 to Conservative Party fundraising event. So you have to ask this question: what does this level of access buy you? What influence does this get you? These are the type of things we should be looking at. And I don't care whether you're a Brexiteer, a Remainer, you're a Conservative, a Lib Dem, Labour, whatever. This is our democracy, and we have to do these things to protect our democracy. There should be a retrospective look at the 2016 referendum. There should be a retrospective look at the last general election. And these things should be done in a non-partisan way. They should be looked at, because this is how you defend democracy. And it's very, very plain to everyone out there, this is going on. There is a multitude of money flooding in from Russia, and you have to ask the question, where's that money going? Who is it going to? What is it greasing the wheels for? We just have to ask those questions. And I'm sorry if you're up in arms that your precious Brexit referendum might become tarnished, but I'm sorry, we have to look at these things, and we have to be sensible about them. Because if not, if you let one thing slide through, then the next big political interference scandal also might just get slide through. And that's the case of where we are now. These things have to be checked. They have to be looked into. So I don't care whatever side plectrum of the spectrum you might take, you have to be for this. And I know that I think there is there normally is on change.org to demand that this type of thing happen. I want to see this debated in Parliament, because I think this should absolutely 100% be investigated. And until it doesn't, there is and will always be an air of suspicion. And quite frankly, even if you are a Brexiteer, you want that air of suspicion gone. And the only way you relieve yourself and protect your precious referendum is by conducting that investigation. And you may have to admit that investigation may not come back as clean as you hoped. And then you have to ask yourself other serious questions.